Happy Severance Saturday, refiners. Bet you didn't think you would see me in your feed so soon to talk more and more Severance content, but here we are. And spoiler alert, there's a lot more to come. My name is Miscellaneous Gab. I'm here to discuss Severance Season 3 biggest predictions, my biggest predictions, as well as all of the unanswered questions that we really still need answered. AKA, if these questions are not answered, I'm gonna have some things to say. Since we still probably have at least a year and a half, 2 years, if things go well before Severance Season 3 comes out, I thought why not kick it off with some predictions, some theories, and kind of moving through my biggest cliffhanger unanswered questions. So without further ado, let's get into it. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe. Please like this video, comment below. Do you agree with my theories? Do you have your own theories? As well as what are your biggest unanswered questions going into Season 3? Season 2 left on a pretty consequential cliffhanger, just like Season 1. Only unlike Season 1, there will be no more normal days back at the office, getting the crew back together again. That's not going to happen, which I understand it's needed for the story to evolve, but I'm honestly quite sad. I never thought a normal day of refining on the severed floor would actually be my safe space, but here we are. Let's begin with my thoughts and predictions for Season 3. This is like the top few, because I have a lot. Season 2 ended with what Ben Stiller called the quote, beginning of the macro dat uprising, the real macro dat uprising. We see the innies take power, and it seems like they've finally done what Lumon has feared they do all along. Band together, no pun intended, realizing there is strength in numbers, and they actually have access to a surprising amount of weapons. All those trombones, drumsticks, Dylan's mouth, additional bolts for the bolt gun, and whatever they're 3D printing at O&D. Can someone say hatchets? Meanwhile, Gemma is left stranded at the exit stairwell. She was just reunited with her love after 2 long years of isolation, imprisonment, and torture to certain parts of her psyche, only to be brutally abandoned by a twisted turn of fate. 1 minute, your husband is making out with you in the elevator covered in blood. Clearly, he had done some pretty bad things to save you. I mean, there's literally an evil Holdor dead body there holding the door. So Gemma's the smart woman, putting 2 and 2 together. He has blood on his hands to come save her. The next moment, he's running away hand in hand with some redhead. Question, do we think that Gemma actually recognizes her to be Helena Egan? Because imagine the confusion there. Not only what's transpired in the past 5 minutes, if Helena Egan is truly, like in her words,
I'm like the head of the company, Mark,
then is she well known around town? What do you think? Hopefully Devin, Harmony, and Mark discuss some sort of protocol or exit strategy where they're waiting to grab her and whisk her away to safety. So that's where we're at. Now let's get into where we're going. Prediction 1. Season 3 will begin with an Audi only episode. Imagine the tension we will feel waiting years for Season 3 and not even get to see our innies until episode 2 or 3. Just like Season 2 began with an innie only episode and then an Audi only episode, I predict that Season 3 will begin just focusing on what's going on the outside to not only build tension, but really just catch us up with what the hell happened with Gemma right away. I predict that Harmony and Devin will rescue Gemma and take her somewhere safe to fully brief her on what has transpired with Mark. Her devastation over Mark will quickly turn to anger towards Lumon, a vehemence, a resolve to really burn them to the ground. I hope they will rally with some other resistance-oriented folks, i.e. Irving, and perhaps whoever he was talking to, perhaps Ragabi. Perhaps Devin can actually act as a peace broker between Ragabi and Cobell, and we can actually learn a little bit more about where their paths have previously crossed. Ragabi, you have to come back. If Ragabi doesn't come back, if that was the end of her story, if that was the end of Irving's story, I will legitimately be very angry and probably make a whole video ranting about that. Holding out hope though. Based on what I'm about to say about the innies, I think Gemma will become a major player in Season 3 and actually be the one to save Mark. Prediction number 2, Rickon will betray. I believe Rickon will become Judas here. We know Lumon now has him wrapped around their finger with a little bit of ego stroking, a little carrot stick dangling, money, payday. That's the way to Rickon's heart. I believe they're trying to coax him over to their side, either with the mental brainwashing, money, or both. That's all unless he's not already a goat or severed or some sort of Egan descendant bastard, which are all theories floating around the ether. Regardless of what he does, he has to have an important relevance. After all, why would Apple TV release the UUR and focus on Rickon to this degree if he's not going to have a major impact in the show? Remember, we also haven't seen him for 5 episodes. They really made him relevant at the beginning and we've kind of dropped off. Now, I will forgive them for that as long as there's a good payout from Rickon's storyline. Prediction number 3, there will then be at least one only focused episode regarding the macro dat uprising and holding the severed floor. I believe we'll have another only episode, maybe even 2 in season 3, focusing on the now active rebellion on the inside. We know they have Milchick trapped and surrounded. Through Milchick and Mark, they also have security key cards to probably get wherever else they want on the severed floor. Don't forget, we also have PD's map, which we'll talk about PD in a bit, but there has to be some better payoff with PD's storyline, and I'm hoping this map that he left behind and maybe Mark's reintegration of his memories of PD that better freaking come to play will help kind of goad him on to maybe exploring PD's map and trying to take Lumon down from the inside. I believe just as we've gone further out into the world of Kier, we'll go further into Lumon, exploring the other parts of the severed floor, other rooms on the testing floor, and potentially find completely different departments. Think about it, the innies will have elevator access, and who is trapped on his own floor in his own little jerk box? That's right, James Egan, current CEO of Lumon. Now, I don't know what's going to happen here, but if they have the CEO hostage, that's a major win for the innies. The balance of power is finally shifting. Mark and Helly will lead the rebellion, ruling together. Helly may even find a way, either that or convince James to do a permanent OTC and actually delete her outie, assume control of the company, and try to take Lumon down from both the outside and the inside. Taking over Helena would bring a real sense of poetic justice to the story. Helly has spoken at lengths about how she feels disgusted that Helena dresses her in the morning like a baby, how she used her to seduce Mark, violated her, and took advantage of people she cares about. Or maybe they could work out some split where Helena and Helly split their time on the outside and the inside, so everybody wins in this weird love triangle. Yay. I do think Helly will be the main, if not one of the main characters in season 3. Prediction number 4, Gretchen will respond to a 911 call. I don't know how or where this happens, but Gretchen will respond to some sort of 911 call. Maybe they call the police for backup at Lumon. Maybe something happens where Gretchen becomes the hostage negotiator. That would be cool, where the innies are barricading the severed floor, and kind of Gretchen goes into no man's land to convince Dylan to hand over control or just to come with them. She's the only one who has real power over Dylan, and I think if there's only one thing that supersedes Dylan's hatred for Mr. Milchick, and that's his love for Gretchen. Prediction number 5, Milchick will cave. This is more of a hope than a prediction. The Kier paintings and devour feculent scene, in my opinion, are leading me to believe that Milchick will eventually fold. I could still see him going either way, but he's going to go one way to a pretty large degree. Either he's gonna go totally full crazy Lumon, where he's actually trying to take over the company and goes full barbaric, or, which I think is a little more likely and a little more hopeful, he'll actually join the innies to some degree or help them or be a Glockschuppen in some way. He's pretty outnumbered here, so I don't see what more he can do. He knows the Egans will never forgive him for this level of fuck up, so he may as well just join the revolution at this point. I do hope at the very least we get a little bit more into Milchick's backstory, at least understanding how Seth Milchick and Jim Milchick from the Lexington letter are related. Now, this next one isn't so much as a prediction, but more of just something that has to happen. This is not like a, oh, this would be cool. I hope it's like, hey, Ben Stiller, like, just come here. I'm gonna hold your hand while I say this. Number 6, reintegration has to pay off. It has to pay off. I'll forgive you for not letting it lead anywhere this season, but it has to go somewhere, Ben. Season 2 was an almost perfect season. That's right, an almost perfect season. However, one of my letdowns was that reintegration didn't pay off much. Or at all. If it's truly not going anywhere, they spent way too much time on it. They could not have spent 7 episodes reintegrating Mark for it just to never come up again. This can't be the end of Ragabi either. I predict that reintegration will continue now that the chip has flooded with or without medical intervention, which would actually be kind of interesting. This could pose a real conflict to any Mark who is trying to hold the severed floor and create a life there with his love. He knows that if he gets back into the elevator, he's probably never going to open his eyes again. So I predict that any Mark will try and stay down on the severed floor for as long as possible. However, it will become more and more challenging for him to be himself as reintegration continues and progresses. There will be this internal fight, almost like the card that we saw Gemma looking at in episode 7, the man fighting himself. I believe that's going to be Mark on the severed floor. With his two halves converging, Mark might be simultaneously trying to save his innie and escape to go to Gemma. Prediction number 7, Harmony double crosses or triple crosses or does something out of self-interest. Harmony loves Kier, not Lumon. I think season 3 will show us the split between the OG Kierites and kind of the new wave of Egan rulers. Ben Stiller has already actually hinted at this, and I've spoken about it at great length. OG Kier might have had some different beliefs or ways of doing things than Jaime and Helena and kind of that new wave. After all, Kier would have had absolutely no way to conceive of a procedure such as severance, a way to sever your brain. If you ask me, Kier transcended the old-fashioned way, maybe a little bit of meditation, maybe a little bit of psychedelics, maybe a little bit of hallucinating about someone's penis falling off into the forest, just that kind of old-fashioned analog ways of going inside your pineal gland. Just like what we had before the internet, essentially. Now we have all these other shortcuts. We have severance. We have these ways to turn off pain, literally to turn it off, where you don't actually have to do the work. I think this is really going to pose a great divide in kind of the legacy of the Egans. Harmony has spent her life serving Jaime. I believe while she now hates Lumon, she still believes in Kier. She is not a good person. And I think she is deluded into thinking that she really is Kier's chosen one. We know that she's already working against Lumon, but I still think she could end up double crossing the quote good guys, or at least stand by while something really bad happens to them. There's still a lot we don't know about Harmony. We got the big reveal in episode 8, which still hasn't totally paid off. Questions here is, did she have a relationship with Jaime? Is she the mother of Helena? Is she the mother of Mark? There's a lot of theories out there. Drop your favorite ones in the comments right now. Those are my predictions. I of course have some more, but I'll save those for another video. In the second half of this video, I'd like to get into the biggest unanswered questions, the questions that I think season 3 needs to answer at some point. Now, I want to begin by saying that we are very astute observers. There's people like Real Enigmas who goes way far into the esoteric things, who sees things that I don't even see. I could never see. There's even just a surface level viewing of this show would tell you that there's so much to unpack, whether you love to nerd out to theories like I do, like you do, or not. However, we've heard from Dan Erickson himself that there are some things that we pick up on that aren't really meant to be things. So that scares me a little bit, because sometimes I think Severance does things to be random or quirky. I do think most things that they do there has a purpose, has a meaning, but I think the goats were maybe just put in there and then created later. Dan Erickson has said he does know how this will end, but you might take some U-turns, some swerves, some detours along the way. They've set up a lot of mysteries. The one mystery they answered in season 2 was, where is Gemma? What's she up to? They executed that flawlessly. Well done. Another reveal we had, which wasn't even a mystery, was Severance, that Harmony Cobell invented the severance procedure. I wasn't even asking that question because I thought it was Jaime. So they've had a few reveals. They've handled them very well. There's still a long list of questions here, and I just hope that many of them will be answered. I'd be okay if some weren't. I'm going to read my top ones, If there's anything I missed, please comment them below. Question 1, what does James intend to do with Helly? I feel like there's a lot of conversations we didn't really get to see carry out. Maybe things were said, we didn't get to hear kind of the end. We know that Helena yells at James, what do you want from me? He never answers. Maybe that's the end of the conversation. Maybe it's not. What does he want from her? Is he really thinking that he could potentially say bye-bye to his actual daughter and bring Helly forth into some sort of ruling position? Question 2, who is Helena's mother? There is a very clear absence of Helena's mother. It has to mean something. There's probably going to be a reveal here. Is it Sissy? Is it Harmony? Is it some rando? Is she going to go on a whole side quest in season 3 to find her mother, to get some answers? What do you guys think? Question 3, who are the other bastards of James Egan running around? Now, this man has wasted no time in spilling his lineage all over Kier. He's admitted it. He's got a lot of them running around, okay? There was major Kier baby imagery in the intro. A lot of people thought that part of the Lumon grand plan was creating babies with tamed tempers or some sort of asexual reproduction. Seems like James is just siren away. Was Drummond an Egan bastard? After all, he called James father. Where are these people? What are they up to? Have they become severed? Have they worked for Lumon? Question 4, and this is a big one. What is Lumon's grand plan? We didn't really get a lot of payoff there about what their grand plan actually is. I think we've had some nuggets about his eternal war against pain, about a cure for all mankind, but I do expect season 3 to get us closer to Lumon's actual plan. Even with Cold Harbor, we know kind of what it is, but what is Cold Harbor really, and why? And what does it matter to the bigger grand plan of Lumon? Question number 5, was Dieter Egan real? And will he come up? Dieter's brother was that name of that band, so was this a symbol or will he be relevant in the future? Question 6, what became of Hampton? The last we saw him, he was telling the oncoming car to, quote, tame these tempers, assholes. Is he okay? Could they have snagged him and made him another testing subject? We never see what happens with Cobell's car, even though it's in the icy waters in the intro. Question 7, why did Gemma go to Lumon in the first place? I was really expecting this to be answered, and unfortunately I think they could have done this pretty easily. If Harmony Cobell could have said 1 or 2 more things, if Mark Scout could have asked 1 or 2 more questions. There's a pervasive lack of asking questions. Was she kidnapped? Did she go willingly? How did they fake her death? What body was Mark looking at? Still so many questions here. Question 8, is Kier PE some sort of simulation? Operation Paperclip? Something like that. There are a lot of straight up lies or misinterpretations of facts in Kier. For example, the number of countries in the world, the biggest waterfall in the world, not to mention all the stupid shit Rickon and his friends get straight up wrong. Are people just dumb here? Or is it by design? We also see machines that are actually in German. They have German words on them. We see a lot of nods to fashion, Russian literature. The Montauk Project, MK Ultra. It seems like Kier is really isolated. After all, it takes days of driving to just get to the next rundown, shitty little town that's next door. How close are they actually to another city? Is this taking place in some alternate reality where there are these little spaces in the middle of nowhere where countries come together to run experiments and kind of monitor the fallout of that? Maybe everyone in Kier is part of this experiment. Question 9, are there innies living on the outside? Like Rebecca and company? Now, Rebecca is a shortened name of Rebecca. Could that have been her innie name? Rickon's other friends seem quite sycophantic, almost like they're looking for perks. His friend who's like, I found your baby. Like they're almost stuck in that framework of I did something, I get a reward. I'm going to stroke your ego, I get a reward. So are these actual innies or former innies that have Glockschuben their way to the outside, or maybe their outies were erased, they're living in a permanent OTC? What do we think here? Question number 10, who else is on the testing floor? Real Enigmas pointed out how many times the nurse's hand had been pricked that day. When she does her final prick, we see all these little pricks, but we know Gemma hasn't been to another floor that day. So who else is living there? We've seen unmarked rooms. Are they previous innies who misbehaved? Are they people like Peg Kincaid who died tied to the outside world? Are they people with certain kinds of blood or some sort of genetic mutation? What do we think? Question number 11, are the other MDR employees creating other innies as well? Not just on the testing floor. So if Mark had to finish a file to create a new innie through Gemma's severance chip, is MDR responsible for creating new innies that actually come down to Lumon? People in choreography and merriment or other people? I know the file names are the names of the room, but was that kind of a red herring? They're actually the name of that new division in the chip. Is it the chip, the physical location of the chip that actually creates another personality, or does that innie actually have to be pre-programmed? 12, how does this all tie into the Lexington letter? I have another video on the Lexington letter. I'm obsessed with the Lexington letter. There has to be the tie-in. Now, one thing that was mentioned in the Dorner truck explosion is the idea of corporate espionage. If there actually is corporate espionage, maybe the corporate espionage was severed employees who went undercover to work at Dorner. Perhaps they were severed and either that was turned on or somebody completed a file, i.e. the Lexington file, which switched them into another innie. Maybe it upped the malice. Maybe it caused them to do something reckless like crash a truck or to make a truck crash. There has to be some sort of connection here. I really don't think that was a red herring either. Question number 13, what is the revolving? We've really only heard it once. I still think it might just be when the old CEO dies, because now we know that they think Kier is in the afterlife. There's goats that shepherd them there. They seem to really like the idea of going to be with Kier. Like, it's an honor. Is it really nothing, or is it something bigger? I'm kind of leaning in towards it's just like when they die. Or perhaps James Egan is trying to put his own consciousness in his next descendant. We've talked a lot about consciousness of the other Egan people, but Severance wasn't around when they were around, so maybe James will be the first one to do it. Question number 14, will Bert be in season 3? Question number 15, why is there a pregnant man statue in the Demona birthing retreat? I talk about this a little bit of predictions in my season finale video. Go check it out. Question 16, who else is severed? For example, if the innies were to take control of the control room and do some massive OTC, Glasgow block, etc., would that affect, say, the senator's wife or other people who have been secretly severed but are living on the outside? How do those controls work, and will we learn more about what those controls mean? Question 17, will we learn why Harmony Cobell was a different person in her home? The weird nightgowns, acting like a child. Was this the trauma of losing her mother, or was this something more? 18, does Lumon manipulate time? How did Mark lose a whole day in season 1, episode 1, due to the time and date on his watch? Do they manipulate time, and if so, why? What are they trying to do? 19, has Irving been to the testing floor? Why does he know so much about the exports hall? Under what circumstances was he there? Was he there as a test subject? Did he used to work for O&D previously and he would go and bring supplies up and down there? Why is that so deep in his psyche? Question number 20, what do the eggs mean? There's been so much egg stuff. What does it mean? Question number 21, what's in the water tower? Cass is twisted, thinks it might be some water, a fountain of youth, eternal water, something that keeps you young or keeps you alive. What do you guys think? Question number 22, why is Helena so obsessed with Mark? Why is she following him? Question number 23, what is Cold Harbor? We kind of figured out what it is, but why? What does it mean? Why this? What are the implications? What are they trying to do? What is Cold Harbor? Question 24, who were those twins during the Ortbo? What relevance do they have? Are they going to come back, or was this just another weird quirk that they introduced? Question number 25, what was the Ortbo? Was it a simulation? Was it not? Will we get some answers? Maybe when they're mapping, going through PD's map, they'll find the Ortbo. Question number 26, why Gemma? Why Mark? Did Lumon actually arrange their meeting in the first place? Is there something in their blood? Is Gemma the important one? Is Mark the important one? I really hope we find this out soon in season 3. All right, friends, that is all I have for you for now. Rest assured, I'm working on another few fun Severance videos. I'm also going to have some fun collabs and live streams coming up soon as I dive back into season 1 and rewatch the whole thing. So there will be a lot more of these theory prediction videos. I'll also be talking about what I loved and what I didn't love as much about this season. Like I said, an almost perfect season, but now that I've had some time to reflect, I do have some things to say and talk about. I literally think of new theories and questions daily, so if you want to have a more daily discussion, head over to my Patreon. We're going to be releasing a Discord very soon, any day now, for existing paid members. So come on in, join the fun. We'll be talking about Black Mirror, White Lotus, Severance. I'm gonna start From. We're gonna start a movie club. We're having lots of fun over there. So we don't feel as lonely as I currently do on Thursday nights now that I don't watch Severance anymore. A big shout out to my Waffle Party VIP members on Patreon. Thank you so much to everyone who keeps me fed with delicious waffles. Thank you to all my other patrons. You all make this so worth it. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for supporting my channel. That's all for now. Remember, just because Severance is over doesn't mean you should go get severed. Don't get severed. Stay safe out there. I'll see you soon. Bye.